Hello everyone, I'm Jacob Kaufman, I'm the nerd on the street, and this is my full review of the Dell Latitude XPi CD. This laptop was manufactured in 1997 and shipped with the Windows 95 operating system. The unit I have here includes an Intel Pentium processor running at 150 MHz. The system supports up to 80 megabytes of RAM, with this unit having 32 megabytes. For internal storage, we have an IBM brand 2.1 gigabyte IDE hard drive installed. It spins at 4,000 rotations per minute and connects via parallel ATA. We get a 12.1-inch display with a 4:3 aspect ratio and an 800 by 600 resolution. It's a TFT LCD panel with a rather impressive viewing angle. You might be able to tell that after about 25 years, this laptop's screen is starting to get a red tint at the bottom. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. I tried to get a hold of Dell to set up a repair, but it seems the warranty on this thing is expired. And speaking of Dell, back in 1997, when this thing was brand new, manufactured in Japan, the original cost of the machine that Dell charged was a little over $5,000. The laptop has built-in speakers and a microphone, but no webcam. The microphone is helpful because you can record voice memos. To take a closer look at the speaker quality, I'll show one of the software packages installed on my machine, Winamp. I'll double-click on one of my MP3 files here. Now, as you can see, I can actually adjust the volume within the application separately from the rest of the system. I also have a panning bar. We have our regular play, pause, all the things you'd expect, and we even have a shuffle feature, probably older than the iPod Shuffle. Moving from multimedia down to our physical inputs, this laptop has an 85-key, non-chiclet keyboard with a very streamlined bezel. You might appreciate the full-size arrow keys if you're an office worker, coder, or gamer, although the keyboard can still feel a little cramped with the super key being on the function layer. Typing is a generally pleasant experience. The keyboard at this age feels a little mushy, but the tactile and audible feedback is almost soothing in its relaxed nature. This is thanks to the very durable reverse rubber dome switches, which are also easy to remove for cleaning. Below the keyboard, we have a 2-button trackball to control the mouse cursor. The trackball is a decent size, almost reminiscent of the controls on bowling arcade games, and it offers a very high level of accuracy. All of this input is useful when we consider the laptop's productivity software, complementing the Windows environment. We get Microsoft Office Word 97, where we can create documents to print off and fax later. We also get Microsoft Excel 97 for bookkeeping.
It looks great. This is a miracle.
This is Microsoft Excel.
If you're more of an artistic user, we also have Microsoft Paint. It's great for artists because it gives you a pixel-by-pixel control over your work, but still makes it quick and easy to create shapes. For example, we can use the ellipse tool and hold down the Shift key while clicking and dragging to draw a circle. I bet GIMP wishes it could do that. Now, once you've done some work on this thing, let's talk about expandability. The laptop actually has great port availability. On the left side, we have 2 PC card slots. The one I have installed on the bottom slot is a 33.6 MHz US Robotics RJ11 modem. This was included in the initial cost of the machine. I'll come back to that a bit later. On this side, we also have a 3.5mm microphone, line-in, and headphone jack. That's actually over 300% more 3.5mm jacks than you'll find on most smartphones these days. Just above those, we have a very easy-to-use latch and slide mechanism to remove the laptop's hard drive. No screws required, except for on the tray. This was really peak upgradability and ease of use achieved 25 years ago. That sentiment even extends down to a RAM access slot directly below the hard drive, which lets you access both slots for the optional dual inline memory modules, although the first 16 megabytes is unfortunately soldered on. On the front, we have one of 2 infrared data ports. The right side has no ports aside from that speaker grill, but does have a convenient battery access slot, which lets you access the 36 watt-hour lithium-ion battery. And on the back, we have a ton of ports. Behind the left door, we have a DB25 parallel port, a DB9 serial port, a PS2 port for mouse or keyboard, and a VGA port for video output. Just above the VGA port outside of the door is our second infrared data sensor. Behind the right door, we have a 200-pin advanced port replicator, which can be used to dock this laptop to a Dell docking station. And finally, on the rightmost corner, we have our DC-in power connector, which unfortunately uses a proprietary connector shape, although the pins are electrically compatible with some other AC adapters, so you might be able to modify one to fit if you need to. With all of these ports, you can really tell that Dell didn't just intend for you to use this laptop on the go, despite how thin and light it is. They really wanted to enable you to sit down and set up a fortress of a workstation wherever you need. Astute viewers may have noticed I skipped our storage expansion options on the front of the machine because I wanted to go over those separately. On the top, we have a CD-ROM player that is read-only, and what's nice about it is that it uses a mechanical latch, so even if the machine's powered off, you can just push the button to open or close this drive. There's no need for power or a paperclip or anything else to get this open. Below that, we have a 3.5-inch diskette drive, aka floppy disk drive, which is about the only way to actually exfiltrate data from this machine short of setting up a network environment. I have to say, even though the CD-ROM drive can't burn disks, it's still a nice touch, because floppy disks, nobody really has those anymore. They've gone out of fashion. But people still buy and sell CDs, and you can listen to a CD produced over 2 decades later on this system. Now that is what I call backwards compatibility. At least, all that sounds good in theory, no pun intended. When I actually went to play this CD as a demonstration, I found out the CD player in this laptop has stopped working. It's just not detected. While trying to troubleshoot that, I did find a cool detail about the system's BIOS firmware. You can actually pause your OS and access the BIOS setup utility using its function key at any time, not just while you're booting. The hard drive indicator shows that the OS resumes its operation when we exit the firmware. And finally, to address the elephant in the room, there is no RJ45 Ethernet port and there is no wireless capability on this system aside from those IR sensors. So like I said, unless you can get that docking station port or a third-party PC card working, the only way to connect to networks with this machine is to dial in to a Dialup service provider via that modem. This laptop has America Online installed. Now I have to be honest, a few years ago I tried to get this working and I thought AOL had discontinued their dial-up service. But in doing research for this video, I found out that AOL still has dial-up connections apparently available, although I couldn't figure out how to actually sign up. Both NetZero and Juno appear to offer free plans with 10 hours of connectivity per month. Interesting how ISPs have moved from time to data transfer in their bandwidth restrictions over the years. But those two providers have similarly opaque registration processes, leaving this machine air-gapped. When we get down to it, network technology has just evolved too much over the years. We have Wi-Fi 6E and Wi-Fi 7, 5G cellular, Bluetooth 5.4, and older, perfectly well-functioning products like these have just been left out in the dust. Nevertheless, if you're working locally, this machine can still get things done for you. You can use WinZip to create a zip archive. You can extract a zip archive, then use McAfee security to scan the contents. And you can certainly entertain yourself with a whole lot of games. Well, as long as you still have the CDs laying around. Now, I'm still using this thing as a daily driver, but if you do decide your XPi CD has reached the end of its lifespan, be sure to consult the notices on the bottom of the machine for information about proper disposal. Dell also has service manuals still available for this model on their website, which I'll link in the description. They might be helpful for disassembly so you don't break anything. You guys will have to let me know what you think of this one. Does this look like it could be the right laptop for you, or are your priorities different than they were in the 90s? Think about it, and make sure to leave a comment. I'm Jacob Kauf, and I'm the Nerd on the Street. Happy April Fool's Day, everyone. Bye.